So hey everyone, this is going to be the final set of predictions for Super Regionals. Uh, the group stage bracket, or just the wild card, of course didn't go too well. I think I got the majority of the games right. Still, I just ended up predicting the wrong teams to go ahead, of course. But outside of me overestimating Orbit, or just them not showing up, more like it, and Flashpoint, I think it wasn't too bad, honestly. But well, let's at least hope I'll get the predictions right for the finals, because that's what we're going to talk about this time around. So the first final we're going to see, I think, is the EU finals. It's going to be Obey against NRG. So Obey, of course, coming off their massive upset win against Orbit, who were definitely expected to beat them and to be in the final in their stead. But, well, they managed to beat Orbit, both because they showed up massively, Obey that is, and because Orbit had arguably one of their worst games in the entire, or one of the worst sets they've ever had as a 5-man roster. And with that in mind, it's hard to tell how good Obey's form actually is, right? Because the Orbit we saw at this tournament, all up until their last game against Flashpoint, was not the Orbits that at least I was expecting, and that we had seen in the previous split. And by the way, just if you are now coming out and saying, I never thought Orbit were that good, you're a fucking idiot. They were good. They just didn't show up this tournament. So yeah, the issue is also they're against arguably the best team in the world, because they, compared to Orbit, NRG has actually shown a lot more consistency. Like, they beat Sanguine. They struggled with them in a few games, but in the end they came out ahead, which is something that says more about Sanguine in my opinion than about NRG. NRG, still, though, they have this ability to stay in games that they shouldn't stay in, right? And I think this is a part of what has gotten them their success. And I think overall they are probably the better team than Orbit and than Obey. So I think overall this series is probably gonna go to NRG. Question is just how well is it gonna go to them, right? Because it could be close, it could also be not close at all. Like, it could easily be a 3-0 to NRG, depending on how good Obey actually is, which is so hard to judge right now. All in all, I think Obey has definitely improved from their performances early in the split and from their performances in the spring. But I still don't think it's going to be good enough to beat NRG. I also don't think it's going to be good enough to take them to 5 games. I think my prediction for this set is gonna have to be a 3-1, because I'm pretty sure the last time those two teams faced in a best of 5, have they ever actually faced in a best of 5? I don't actually think so. So the point still is, I think the one victory that Obey will get over NRG will signify that they have improved their form compared to the split and compared to previous splits. But I still think that NRG is just the better team, both individually and as an actual unit. And I think they're gonna win this set pretty well, like pretty decisively. And I think there's going to be a lot of chance of an actual Obey win. So yeah, that's my prediction. 3-1 for NRG. And the other finals we're going to have are, of course, the NA finals between Team Eager and Sir Gaming. So those are also two interesting teams, right? Because they both have a couple of very high skill mechanical players. When you look at Soar, you of course look to Aninster, you look to Baskin, you look to Chicks, you even look to Met Yankee. And when you look at Eager, the first name that comes to mind immediately is Satman, but there's also the Best, there's also Divios, there's also arguably Aurora, and even arguably DJ Pernicus, who is still good mechanically, just not as good as, well, the likes of Anninster. And the more interesting question, in my opinion, is going to be, outside of just the pure mechanical skill, is which team is going to be better as a unit. And we've seen Soar have just natural synergy. We've seen Soar also profit from shot calling of Anninster, probably. But we have also seen Eager have the same thing, right? Eager works well together as a unit, and they have good shot calling. Both of those teams have that same thing. So the question is going to be whether one team actually has a clear advantage in that regard, and whether that's going to catapult them to a victory over the other, or whether the little differences in mechanics from the day-to-day form will decide the winner of this series, in my opinion. And it's also really hard to call. They both looked very good in their semifinals, both winning 3-1, of course, to Flashpoint and Luminosity respectively. And I think Eager has really proven themselves now, and even during the group stages of the fall split, to be one of the best teams in NA. Soar has always been considered one of the best teams in NA. So, I don't know. The thing is, Satman might not be able to Satman and Best need to show up for the series in order for Eager to win. Pern needs to show up. And I think there's just too many people that need to show up for it to actually work for Eager, right? I think it's more unlikely. It's more likely that not all of them show up than it is that all of them show up. And I think the opposite is the case with Soar, because Soar, if there's one thing that describes Soar, one word, it's consistency. Soar doesn't just have extremely high peaks. Their average level comes close to their peaks, in my opinion. And with that in mind, I would rate them as the better team overall, and I would rate them as the more likely team to win the series overall. But I think it is going to be closer than the EU said, and I think it's going to be extremely close. Like, the differences are going to be so small that it could easily tip in the other direction towards Eager. But in my opinion, a 3-2 victory to Soar is the most likely scenario. So if I had to bet my FP on something, which I have to do, I would be giving it to Soar. But I think it will be a close set. Also really depends if they actually play seriously, of course. But I think they will. Like regional champion is still a great title to hold, in my opinion. I think a lot of people are gonna look to get that crown. And seeding, of course, is still an important thing for Worlds. Having some buys, which is probably going to be the case with how Worlds will most likely be structured, is an advantage, obviously. You come in a bit colder, of course, but you also come in with more fuel left in the tank, so to speak. So I think the teams are going to be fighting for that pretty hard, and well, we'll see who wins. So, with that in mind, thank you all for watching my predictions. Again, I hope I'll be right. Wildcards kind of sucked, and if I end up being right, well, you can thank me for your FP or whatever. If you like this video, you can leave a like. If you disliked it, you can also leave a dislike, whatever. And if you want to see more content like this, I'll probably do more, especially around Worlds, where I'll probably go into more detail about who I think is gonna win, how I think the different group stages are gonna go. And yeah, if you want to see more kind of that, more that like that, you can subscribe to my channel if you want. And I might even stream on Twitch sometimes, so you can go over there to twitch.tv/TheRobidog, and you might catch me streaming. I don't know. I might get some time during the winter to do that. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is the end of the video. Thanks you all for watching again.